All right, all right, all right. We're back with the All the Ball Sports Show for fall of 2018. Glad to have everybody joining us tonight. We've got Dan LaFond, who is the state championship coach for Columbia Lady Lions Rugby.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you. And we've got a little business we need to tend to before we get started. True Love's Pizza and Grits has come back as our sponsor for this season, and hopefully many more in the future. Like to remind you, they are now open on Thursdays, Friday, and Saturday. They're open 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Thursday, 11 a.m. until 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, closed Sunday through Wednesday. Now, I talked to them today, talked to a very nice young lady who works out there, and she says that the full menu is back. So the pizza and the grits and the chicken and the grits and all the kind of stuff that they have out there, the wings, they're all back. So make sure you check them out, 388-7770, 1144 Riverside Drive here in Columbia. Again, open Thursday 11 till 8, Friday and Saturday 11 till 9, closed Sunday through Wednesday. They have a whole list of stuff: cheese sticks, true blue wings, house salads, grilled chicken salad, side salad, chicken and grits platter, shrimp and grits platter, True Love's grits, and of course, desserts. Tennessee cheesecake. Tennessee cheesecake served with strawberries. Turtle pie. Turtle pie a la mode. That's for all you folks out there who are not up on the latest stuff. That's with ice cream.
That's I thought it was French.
A scoop of vanilla ice cream they have if you just want that. And, of course, they've got pizzas all the way from the Pizza Maker Special, the True Meat Lovers, which we will be having later on tonight, vegetarian Hawaiian pizza, pizza number 1, pizza number 2, pizza number 3. Go get a menu and find out what those pizzas are because they're absolutely fantastic. Pepperonis, they have everything else you want to add to it, so make sure you check them out at True Love's Pizza and Grits, 1144 Riverside Drive here in Columbia.
And I was out there a few days ago, and they got some more new Central memorabilia on the wall.
Do they?
They just keep adding to it, so it's outstanding to see that new stuff up on the wall.
I'm just still interested in how Glenn got all that stuff. Whether it was late night, back in the pickup truck up to somewhere, and just
one of those dump trucks that left during the construction, parked out at
True Love.
Unloaded out there.
Oh, Lord.
But thank you, True Loves, for being back as our sponsor for tonight. Also, a shout out to my buddy Amy Foster. She's the one that sent me this card for my birthday.
Oh, good for Amy.
I did turn 64 on September 1st, and she came over and sent me a nice card and nice Dairy Queen birthday cake. I'm telling you guys.
You can't beat that.
No, you can't. This thing was awesome.
If that came with ice cream, it would be what?
Oh, it was ice cream.
It
was a Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen cakes have the ice cream already with it.
Yeah.
So is that a la mode or not? If it's
Well,
with
it's half cake, half ice.
I guess
ice
it
cream.
would be then. Yeah, yeah.
A la mode on the top.
I
You
think
remember Ball 4.
Yeah.
In Ball 4, Boughton talks about a catcher that he didn't name was sitting in a restaurant. He ordered a piece of apple pie, and the waitress said, "Well, do you want that a la mode?" And he said, "No, but you can put a little ice cream on it."
That's good.
A couple of Thursdays ago, we had the Hall of Fame at Columbia Central. We inducted 9 folks, going all the way back to Mrs. Virginia Scott Parsons, who was our first inductee, who was a 1918 graduate of Columbia Central. And as I said during the presentation, she was a lot more than just a former Lady Vol. Actually, she was one of the first Lady Vols on their basketball squad in 1920. Tried to form the swimming team up there when she found out that you couldn't have your whole body had to be covered except for your hands and feet. They said no. No. That's not. She was a force to be dealt with. So understand. She married Clifford Parsons, who later went on to own Pig and Parsons downtown.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and well, if you listen to my did you not listen to my presentation?
I was busy.
Evidently, he was
I was
talking.
busy handing stuff.
No, he was. I'm going to tell you what now. The Culinary 3 class at Columbia Central High School did an absolutely fantastic
Yes, it
job.
did.
and he was busy having that peach cobbler.
That's right.
Ah,
Yes,
that's what it was.
That's what it was. That's what I'll give it because she was our first inductee, but she later on was the first PTA president of Riverside School. She formed that. She was the first to have a Girl Scout troop in Columbia, which is very impressive. Was on the board of the Maury County Public Library for many years. Walked or swam every day up until she died at age 100.
Wow.
That is
Wow.
amazing.
Wow,
Amazing.
that's just incredible. But she's a very nice lady. Inducted 8 more on top of that. And I don't have the complete list in front of me, and I apologize for not having that. I don't want to leave anybody out. We have some very important, what I could consider to be very important, very significant individuals that we put in that Hall of Fame.
I think it's pretty awesome that Roger White, I mean, for a school like Columbia Central to just now have a Hall of Fame is kind of astonishing, considering the rich history that it has in Columbia. So it's pretty awesome that I know that's been on Mr. Rogers' radar for many, many years. So it's very cool that that was part of the new building.
But and that's one of the reasons that they did it now was
Sure.
because they built that into the new building because they're
course.
really in the old building. Where was you going to put it?
Yeah.
I mean, that everybody could see it.
The concession stand.
Well,
Yeah, there was no room. Absolutely,
there
yeah.
was no room there.
Absolutely.
But what is really interesting and what I really love about the way that they built that event center, it sits on the same footprint as the old gymnasium.
Correct.
That is just like way cool, and it's got the curvature of the ceiling like the old ceiling was in the gymnasium. And I want to tell you what, guys, that was a fantastic night.
That Hall of Fame floor in there is
Yeah.
the old gym floor. That's
Yeah.
really
Right,
cool.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it is way cool.
But I agree with Coach. Roger deserves a lot of credit for sticking with that. He kind of got it started. I went to some meetings, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago, and there were some things that were done before that. Then the construction really kind of, I guess, tapped Roger out for a while, and Ray Wilson did a great job also sticking with it. And then Cindy Johnson came in the last year or so as president, basically, of it, and helped carry it to the finish line. And once the selections were made, Roger and Kevin Creech did a great job organizing
Right.
from that
Yep.
point on, and really was a fantastic night, no doubt.
The one thing that Roger does not get enough credit for in this entire process was starting with the destruction of the old Central High School, the reconstruction of the new Central High School, and the 3 years that it took to do that, and how he held everything together in order to be able to do it, because it was a dance
Yep.
of construction.
It was chaos.
It was.
New buildings, new building classrooms, old building classrooms, the whole science wing going away, so science having to move. I mean, the last 7 years, and as Vance will attest, I mean, it's been insane,
Right.
and that was all that everything went fairly smoothly. So
Yeah, it was, and like Coach and I had to deal with the construction with our classes, and he had to deal with it with his, 2 sports actually,
Yeah.
football and now just rugby. But Roger had to deal with it on every
Every level.
every
Yeah.
classroom's dealing with it. Every sports doing with it, every event that happened in the school there for about
Every-
that 3
That may be
years.
the
Every
reason
obli-
his hair turned white.
every
exactly.
obligation that comes with being a principal, and now you're also kind of a construction manager.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every problem that first year we had the building, the tiles came down in the in the stairwell, and just
Yeah.
ceiling tiles, and it was the rumbling from the deconstruction outside, and so of course that's Roger's got to relay that to the construction team. So I mean, for that man to keep it together and not have a total breakdown managing a school and a project like that certainly deserves to be commended.
I was out there
Absolutely.
when they brought the old girl down the old
The gym.
the gym.
Yeah.
And I was watching the guy with the wrecking ball, and of course he hit it 3 times. They were hitting through the ceiling in order to drop it, and she didn't want to go. She did not
Oh, yeah.
want to go,
Yeah.
but when she did,
It was all at once.
she went all at one time. It was a beautiful thing to watch.
It was pretty surreal.
But and everybody kept saying it. And I'm going to explain that, and I'm going to explain this from a construction standpoint. They said, "Well, we should have saved all the wood that was in the rafters." It was so brittle and so dry rotted, you could not make anything out of that
Yeah.
wood because it was just it was in a pile of absolute rubble that you could not salvage.
Yeah, and they're actually they tried to come up
Yeah.
with a plan to do that, and I don't know if it was just that or the cost involved in trying to do that, but they approached it from that angle of trying to save that.
And I think in the
Didn't work.
1980s, we were the only school that ever had a basketball canceled because of rain.
Oh, the skylights.
Yeah, the
right?
skylights. The skylights that were up there. Yeah.
Wanda Lane told me that story.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, it rained hard one night. We're out there with buckets.
I tell you, one of the things that amazed me on a tour is when you see the lion's heads that are made out of the keys.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Ellen Lawson did that.
yeah,
All the old master keys from the old
Yeah,
building.
that's
Ellen
right.
Lawson took all those in and made that. That's pretty cool little mural.
it is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's pretty awesome.
I mean, you're standing at a distance, you're looking at it, you go, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
get up there and you, "Oh, it's keys."
Oh, wait a minute. That's one of the keys that I don't have. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have any keys to that new building either. And I'm going to tell you this from a security standpoint, you cannot get into Central High School unless somebody lets you in.
Absolutely.
It is the keys are very tight.
It is
So that's
most secure
an
building
outside
I have
decision.
ever seen in my life lately, other than the IRS building in Nashville.
All the teachers that are near exits, no students through, nobody comes in, and they make the kids walk around.
Well, I'm
and
not
it's,
going.
it's pretty
I'm
well
not going to mention the jail.
Yeah.
And Miss Norma does a wonderful job
Yes, she
up
does.
front, and she will make you show your ID
Absolutely.
before you enter that building.
Yep, that
That's
is
the reason I always walk up, show my ID, and say FBI. So
With all over the years, we've had so many false alarm threats,
Yeah.
and I've never a single day felt unsafe in that building.
I
No.
agree.
So
I agree.
yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I did want to mention one other thing on the Hall of Fame before we
Sure.
go into other things is being on the selection committee. I cannot tell you how difficult it was to pick 9 people out of a 105-year history. Just like going back to what you're saying, surprising that we're just now at this point of having a Hall of Fame. Extremely difficult, and as we go, it'll get more exciting too as we go forward, as there's a mix of older people, younger people, and
What was the
all
field? How
those.
many did you evaluate?
Oh man, there probably was a couple, about probably 3 to 4 dozen people were researched at least a little bit.
now the 2019 nominations are open right now, right?
yes,
aren't
they are.
And so every year we'll induct a new class.
Yes, there'll be
Gotcha.
a new class every time, and the number will vary. It won't be 9 every time. It'll depend upon how strong of a vote it is there. So it was quite an honor for those first 9 getting in out of a 105-year history.
And like I had mentioned to Roger and mentioned to several people, and Carol and I, my wife and I talked about it, that it was very important for us to make sure it's an honor to be chosen for the Hall of Fame, but it's also an honor to be the first inductee into the Hall of Fame. And so I wanted to go back and choose someone who had an interesting past like Mrs. Parsons, because I felt like that was the deserving one because she was the first in 1918, and to go and become the first Lady Vol, which in this area is very important to a lot of folks, except for our Alabama people. But
Not going to
That's
mention
me.
anything.
no, we're not
Right.
mentioning names.
Well, he's wearing
but
the red polo. I don't understand.
That's a good point. Yeah. Good point.
you know why I am Dan LaFon? Because I look good in it.
Oh, okay, absolutely, yeah. I mean, no offense.
No offense taken. My wife says I look good in red, so hey, that's
a
you
done
know,
deal.
Yeah, she just says she never has said put an A on it. But anyway,
You and Tiger Woods.
thank you very much. Yep, that's his Sunday. That's his Sunday dress.
Right,
remember,
true,
black
true.
pants, red
Yeah,
shirt.
yep.
That's Sunday. You always knew when Tiger was.
So he looks
in
good in
competition.
it on Sunday, and you look good on it
Well,
every
thank
day.
you.
Every day,
Monday,
there you go.
yep,
Gee,
all
Coach.
7 days. Good.
Thank you so much.
here to help.
Too much information.
But anyway, with Miss Parsons, it was an obvious choice to do that for her, and had a representative of her family there. I mean, we had a representative from everyone's family. Fred Pickard was there in person,
Yep.
and Hardy Lloyd was there in person, and it was just an honor to sit up there and read these things for these folks, and to know that the history and the history behind every award and the history behind how many people like Everett Derryberry, who was the president of Tennessee Tech from 1940 to 1974.
You know,
That's a big history right there.
it is. It is.
And to have the biggest ROTC program in 1951, the first one that was ever started. That's it's just incredible stuff. I mean, it's stuff that's going to stick with me for a long time of who these folks were. Not only did I read the scripts 100 times to make sure I didn't mess them up on presentation night, but I learned a lot of history from these folks, and it's really neat to see.
Yeah, and all 9 of those people, you know, did something that impacted the state level or even national level. And as we get into it, you start hearing about new people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and new to my knowledge, I should say, and to others, and the impacts that they had, and you know. I heard from one of Coach Quillen's former players that I was not aware of. You know, was an all-state player here, was a all-Southern player as a high school football player back in the late 40s, and went on and had a great college career and all that. So, you know, the field is going to keep expanding. It's not going to get easier. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as we go.
The interesting thing about the Quillens, and I guess you noticed this the other night too, they all look alike.
Yes, they do.
They've got strong genetics in that family.
They do.
Because Pat Quillen looked like Mutt Quillen, who looked like his grandson, who looked like the uncle and the cousin. And all.
Yeah.
And I asked one of the grandkids. I said, is your son here? He said, yeah, he's standing right next to me. He turned around and looked just like Mutt.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. I'm like,
It
he
was.
said, yeah, strong genetic genes in our family. I said, yeah, they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it was interesting to see all these folks.
It was.
Strong ties to Tennessee Tech.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. That's the thing I learned is a big impact that people from Columbia and Central High School have had at Tennessee Tech and UT, but also UT Martin as well. With,
Right.
Coaching Coach Quillen coaching there, so big impact. And then
was.
you think about what Coach Cartwright and starting the coaching association here at Tennessee, which most people would not be aware of that, but that did have a national impact. It went, it was a nationally connected organization, which it still is.
And his wife Nancy accepted for him.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
it was nice to see all these folks out there.
Yep.
It was a big time, big night.
It was.
Can't wait till next year.
Yep.
Maybe I'll be asked to come back.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. You're the one that knows how to turn on the microphone, so so you should feel more safe about coming back.
Oh,
with me.
you think is that security?
Yes, absolutely.
Job security. Dan LaFond,
Sir.
last time he was here, was talking about how great this rugby team was going to be. And there's no one who's more of a cheerleader for his own team than Dan LaFond. Eddie and I got a chance to go last fall to watch, not last fall, last spring to watch
The state championship
in Murfreesboro. And we were totally impressed by the fact that we came away state champions. We didn't stick around for the ceremony, but we stuck around long enough to see the presentation because we wanted to go somewhere to have supper.
Refreshing beverages.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Adult beverages and
some
nice scenery.
Thank you.
Sure.
So anyway, not only did you perform well as a state champion, but you also ranked 5th in the nation.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about your girls. First of all, are you going to have a team of girls as good as you had last year?
That class of 2018. I told them coming up. You've been together 4 years. You've carried this team. 10 of those starters, 10 of the 15 starters were seniors, and of those 10, 8 have been playing together for 4 years, and a couple of 2 years and 3 years, and of course not. And I think that with this, a year ago, I was less excited. A year ago, I was like, this is it. If there's a year, this is the year that we're going to win a state championship. It is ours to lose because we have such a strong team who played together so well. We're so disciplined. We know how to play our game. If we lose the state championship, it'll be our fault. This year, it is all the young kids who have grown up in the shadow of this class of 2018, ready to prove themselves. And in the regular season last year was quite uninteresting. I put my starters in, And 10 minutes later, we're up 30 points. All right, JV, go play. We look at all the, we outscored our opponents. I sent that to you, like 293 to 66,
Right.
like huge margins. And
I have printed that off,
Yeah.
by the way, and I have that ready in all my stuff.
I appreciate
for
that.
Friday night.
Those kids scored those points in the first half. That's it. They didn't play second half. I don't know that we played until regional championship and state championship when they're required to stay in. All those varsity studs, all that class 2018, they played half a game.
Yeah.
And we'd get up so high and we'd beat people so bad, I'd take them out and say, all right, new kids. I would get more excited about the young kids who were learning the game, who were trying to prove themselves, making big hits, making big runs. I mean, you'd see me excited. But with the girls, with the varsity, I mean, this is business. Play your game, play it correctly, watch the film, critique the film. We put in this system where when you made a mistake, it was an up-down the first week. And the second week, it was 2 up-downs. And the fourth week, it was 4. And so when we watched film, they were like, that's a mark. And they would know every time you make a mistake, every time you play incorrectly, we had to be punished. And so we were playing, it was almost like, remember the Titans, can you be perfect? And especially in the regional championship, which has always been our big challenge, is, McMinn from the East. They've been the big stud for the last 4 years. Going and beating that team 72-24. Absolute dominance, was my most emotional day because we had never done that. I knew that they were the roadblock to state championship. I knew we'd face Ravenwood again, who we'd beaten at the conference championship.
Yeah, well, Ravenwood seemed to be a pushover, especially when they came here. And then you're going to go face them again at their place.
We were and the reason why this new class will not be as good as the previous class this year is because
now, by you saying that, is that a challenge to them?
Well, of course it is. And I say to them, ladies, there it is. Like, there's the legacy. That's what you're trying to be. You're trying to defend that. But we were so physically imposing. We got girls, one arm pushing girls to the ground, not even lowering shoulders, just by sheer will. We were so physically imposing, so we walked over everybody. I mean, I told the girls, we haven't been challenged in a year because we're so physically imposing, because we play our game. We don't try to do anything special. We just play simple rugby, straight smash mouth.
Yeah.
As they would call it, smash mouth football.
Yeah.
We're smash mouth rugby. We're going to run right at you. We're not going to run trick plays. We're not going to run deception. We're going to come at you.
Shortest distance.
But is it
straight line?
Exactly.
But is it your sheer numbers? Because you have more girls. I mean, we've seen this. Eddie and I have seen this from the press box. You have more players 3-1 over the nearest competitor.
Sure. Of course, that's helpful, especially for keeping the funnel full, especially for JV. We're one of the only teams that can field a full JV with 0 varsity players.
Wow.
The last year that I coached football, especially when you see varsity, and Coach Blue certainly knows about this, you got those kids who just want to wear the jersey. You got those kids who just want to be a part of it, and that's something we have going on. If I got 53 girls last year, 53, that's a huge team, right? 53 girls, 15 varsity starters, maybe 15 girls who can be reserves, substitutes for varsity, and then 15 to 10 girls who just really don't belong playing rugby. But they're enthusiastic, and they want to be a part of it, and so we kind of carry that. So it does help having all those kids, but also you get kind of some of the barnacles. And, as long as they don't detract, and as long as they contribute, as long as they have a good attitude, they're welcome to be a part of it. And I still have, to this day, have not cut a kid, because I just can't. I can't look at a kid and go, you don't belong. That's tough for me to do. But I do say, in very general terms, hey, listen, you got to decide if this is the sport for you. None of you just play. None of you just show up to practice and never play. So take an honest assessment of yourself. Are you wasting your time with rugby? Because I'm not going to tell you if you are, but you should decide if you are or not. A first-year player today, we practiced 3 times this fall. Once last Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday this week. And she's a sophomore. She's a little girl, and she's got good speed, but she came up to me and she said, Coach, I don't think I want to play rugby. I'm like, okay. And I saw that she had been struggling with passing, with concepts. I mean, it's her 3rd day playing the sport ever. I was like, I understand that. Maybe give it a week or 2. And don't feel like you have to, and don't feel like you don't have to. Just give it a shot. A new sport is so intimidating, especially, girls never play a sport where they pick a ball up and run with it. They never played a sport where they tackle. They never played a sport so physical and so demanding physically. So I encourage everybody. But if I'm being perfectly honest, when I look at this little freshman player versus a Adriana Duncan, who's now at Life University, right?
Yeah.
I think, man, Adriana got it the first week. Just understood catching the ball, moving the ball. You know, didn't always look great, but she kind of got it. I mean, some of these freshmen and sophomores are just like staring in the ceiling and the floor and just, you know, like spinning in circles. I mean, yeah, exactly. So some kids have a harder time latching on
And you're
than
hoping
others.
they're not going home and saying, Coach LaFon called me a barnacle.
Yeah, exactly. No, and so of course, you know, you have to keep in mind that these are teenage girls,
Sure.
and you have to be. I'm not sensitive, but I'm certainly not treating them like 14-year-old boys.
And you never have since you started doing this.
Exactly. So being tough on them, but fair.
Right.
You know, the ones that are hard. If you can't take me, you can't take rugby.
Hey,
There's no way.
Coach, how many girls got carded in the championship game?
You know, we have an upcoming. Again, I was so excited for the JV, right? And so what I tell the varsity and the JV the same thing every single year. Varsity, I want to see you execute, play the game right. JV, I want to see how tough you are. If you commit a penalty, cool, do it 100 miles an hour. Show me how tough you are, how fearless you are. And so we've got an upcoming JV kid who will play varsity, and she is a shark, and she attacks and she goes, and we call her Yellow Card.
Yeah.
Because she got so many yellow cards last year, just being too aggressive, you know, being off sides, tackling too high or too hard. You know, in rugby, you can't pick somebody up and put them on the ground. You got to pick them up and gently set them down because again, the game is so focused on safe contact. And she was like, Coach, what'd I do? I'm like, you tackle too hard. And so it's just kind of learning the right ways to hit hard and safely. And so we call this girl Yellow Card. And actually, her sister was a senior last year, part of that legendary class. And so, you know, this girl right here, she's 5'3", 100 pounds maybe, and she is a rock star tackler. And so we put her with the forwards, and we have her. You know, she's a headhunter. Who's got the ball? All right, cool. Go tackle him. And so it's kids like that. It's kids like that you get really excited for because she only started playing last year, but she has all this raw, number one, anger, right? She's an angry girl, honestly. You know, she got in trouble this week in school. And I'm like, you know, when you're dealing with this girl, you know, she's kind of ferocious. And she just, you know, that's why she's so good in rugby. So, like, when you talk to administrators and teachers, I'm like, it's really easy to set her off, but I promise you she's a good kid. And so when you talk to this kind of girl, you'll be like, hey, listen, I love your intensity, but let's put it on the field. Let's keep it out of the classroom.
So if you walked up to her and said, I want the ball, she's going to bring you the ball.
Berniah Southall was like that. Berniah, you know, I liken Berniah to a wind-up toy.
Yeah.
You wound her up and you just threw her on the field, and she just went. And that's similar to how this girl is, though. Berniah was very much more a one-trick pony as far as super aggressive, super attacking. You know, did not fully understand the game. Not a high rugby IQ, but such a dependable, hardworking player. You know, this girl's got a lot more potential for rugby IQ. So, but she is that kind of girl that you got to have out there. I got to have this girl on the field to go.
You got to have an
tackles.
enforcer.
Exactly. Yeah, and she, you know, she's this big, and she's just a monster. At nationals.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
on that hard tackle, I said, well, Dan, that's a card.
Right. and like we're over there and we're like, Coach Rodney Springer, my assistant, who's got a daughter on the team, we're looking at each other like, this is it. Like, this girl is going to be legit. Like, first-year player.
Right.
Going out there getting yellow cards or being too aggressive, that's perfect. We can dial that in. We can hold that back, and she's going to be a stud. And she will be this year. So I'm very excited.
I can't wait to see this girl.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when you see the scrum come together, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, whenever you see the scrum come together, there are the three players at the back of the scrum.
Right.
Directly in the back is called the 8-man. She wears number 8. And then at each side of the 8-man are what are called flankers. Flankers' job in the scrum is headhunt. So you break off, you make tackles. Your whole existence revolves around making tackles and getting the ball back. So it is a matter of, hey, go get the ball. And they go and do it. So it's pretty awesome. You know, the seniors last year, I mean, Tatiana Harlan, Serena Whites, I mean, you know, the ruck, when they battle for the ball over a tackle, nobody can hang with them. I mean, their sheer power, and they're going 50, 60%. I mean, I only saw them a couple times go fully into somebody, and they went to the ground just so fast, and they stayed there. And they knew, like, they're like, I don't want to hurt anybody. But you know, they got in the way of me getting the ball. So, you know, when those girls went all in, nobody could hang with them, which is why the margins were so high. So it's cool to see these younger girls who are a little smaller, who have all this fight, who have all this, they want to prove themselves. I got that state championship banner just like the 2010, 2009. What was state? 2010, yeah.
2010.
So I remember coming into Columbia Central as a first-year teacher, football coach, and looking at your 2010 banner, state champions. And in my head, I was thinking, I want to be on something like that one day. Now, it wasn't with football, it was with rugby. But as soon as we won that, I thought about that banner, so we put it up there. And it's right next to my classroom on the wall in the hallway and all day long.
It's a big banner.
Yeah, all day long. Yeah, they stop by it, people look at it, and they're all thinking, and sometimes say the same thing, I want one of these for us. And that's awesome. So you already plant that seed. You already give them something to work for. So what I do know is that they will have to work twice as hard this year to be as good as the team last year.
But then you'll have the Hall of Winners.
Right, exactly. So then we just
There you go.
keep putting them down.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey, I
English
tagged the
hallway.
name. There you go. That's all you need.
Absolutely.
Hey,
So
now, I got to say this though. Here at the banquet, there is no one who shows more emotion toward his players than this guy right here.
You got that right.
And it's because, and I can say this, it's because of the love that you have for not only the game that you developed over the last 6 years, but for the love of the kids that you get out there and you coach, and your coaches, to mention your assistants.
Rebecca Withrow, Rodney Springer, our primary assistants.
Right.
Sarah Brady helps. She just had a child, so she's kind of
Right.
off and on. But it's basically me and Rodney, and then Rebecca Withrow is like team mom. She helps me with so many things. She's so
Right.
essential.
Right.
But so anyway,
But this guy shows so much emotion toward his players and so much emotion during the
Banquet.
The banquet. And what is so cool, the coolest thing is he has them in a circle, a semicircle around the podium, so he can see each and every one of them.
Neat.
And all of us parents, let me back up. I have no parent there, but I'm not a parent. I've never had anyone in sports.
Us spectators.
Us spectators sit in behind and watch all of it, and it's an interesting concept to watch where he's watching all of his players' eyes at the time that he's talking to them, not talking at them,
Yeah.
but he's talking to them, and it is an interesting thing to watch, and I for one appreciate that.
And
Well,
I
thank
tell you what, I broke down when you were presented the photo
my wife and
by
I.
the Edwards.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God, and I could tell how much it touched you. And
That picture. Which,
I was getting choked up myself.
what he's talking about is, as a parent gave me a big, this big, and it's a picture of my wife and I kissing, and I've got the state championship trophy.
Yeah, neat.
And boy, it just tore me in half because my wife, that woman, has given so much time and so much of our marriage to allow me to be with these girls, to do this. And so it was almost like that trophy was vindication for what she had sacrificed. And so I was like, ugh, like completely lost it.
Well, and to put up with you too.
Well, of course, yeah. That's the most of the battle.
It's like her trophy.
So I think that what's good about why the banquet is so important. One of our up and coming players who's going to be maybe the next Serena White.
Right.
She was thinking about not going to the banquet. She had to work. I'm like, understand that it's very important that you allow me to honor you, because all my respect, all this emotion that I have for these girls, I keep it inside until that banquet, because they got to know that I am about business, that I have high expectations for them, that I do love them and respect them. But if I'm an emotional mess every practice or every game, it loses its effect, and then I become, kind of an emotional basket case.
You become that coach.
Exactly. And you don't want to be that coach. You don't want to let your emotions guide your decisions. And so during the season, when I let that show, and I'm going to be perfectly frank with you, it's almost like the Hulk. I'm always angry, right? Well, I'm always feeling emotion, right? Like seriously. And I strategically choose when they get to see that. So for example, our first ever conference championship, which was 3 years ago, Adriana Duncan was a sophomore. And we're playing Ravenwood for the conference championship. And Mackenzie Lyles, who was a freshman then, is a senior now, she had just scored the go-ahead score, 5 minutes left. And it's so funny because that makes me emotional, because this freshman ran 95 yards, scored on Ravenwood, the big deal, the returning state champion, right? Puts us ahead, and I get all those starters in here. There's 5 minutes left. And I was like, ladies, and I'm like crying. I'm like, you're legends. Now go and win this conference championship. And they freaked out because I was so emotional. And they're like, oh my God. But I know that it filled them with adrenaline and got them excited. And of course they didn't allow, any more possessions and they won that. So, like at the regional championship, I allowed them to see a little bit of my emotions for the moment. And I feel like that's a motivating factor, but it loses its effect. It's like dance moves. If you did the same dance move all the time, it would lose its effect. So especially this year, these girls know they have literally everything to prove. They are a brand new team. So, our scrum half, which is like our quarterback, she was a sophomore last year. It's almost like William Markham for you. And I actually used that example. I was like, her name's Meredith Coffee. I call her Starbuck because her last name is Coffee. And I said, listen.
Oh, that's clever.
Right? Yeah. I said, listen, you're just like Markham. You're this sophomore kid with all this pressure on you. Understand that you're the best person for the job, and I completely trust and have faith in every decision you make, and I'm not worried about how you play. And so, of course, she plays phenomenally, amazingly.
Sure.
I could sit there and shake her shoulders and say, you got to play great, and if you don't, we're done. And you know what? Coaches do that. And I'm sorry, but this is a teenage kid.
But just like Markham was one of those that didn't feel the pressure.
Right.
He was one of those that would, and Coach will verify this. He'll take a hit. He was the toughest little nut I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
He would take a hit, clap those hands, stand
Get
up,
right
and say,
back
"Is that the best you got?"
Right.
And get back in the huddle.
And Meredith Coffee, she's a stick figure.
Yeah.
But she's fast. She's got great ball skills. She's a smart girl. She's perfect for the position. I said, listen, you're the youngest kid out here.
Well, you're exciting me
Yeah.
about this coming season.
Well, and that's the thing. I am the most excited I've been in a long time. Last year, we were set up to win the state championship. Nationals was really exciting because I was like, we're beating other state champions. This is
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
This year, it's all the up-and-coming kids. It is the next generation coming together, learning how to play the game.
But when you got to the Nationals, how good are these other 4 teams in front of you?
When you have just won a state championship for the first time,
Yeah.
you're not really worried about nationals. I'm still riding the high, right? Nationals was the week after. We practiced one day after state championship because I was so excited. So I'm like, we were just like, we're going to nationals. Like, we have never done that. We've never been able to qualify. You have to beat the previous qualifier, which was McMinn. So we did that. And so we went into nationals very casual. And boy, did we find out what real rugby looks like, because Wisconsin Memorial, which is a Catholic school in Wisconsin, who was their state champion, similar trajectory to us. They had just won their first state championship, and they had been out there. The game was at 9 o'clock in the morning. They've been out there since 7 practicing. We rolled up, no joke, 45 minutes before the game, right? Hand our jerseys out. We're getting warmed up. Like, all right, we're at nationals. This is cool. This is exciting. Wisconsin Memorial played the best rugby I've seen from a high school team. That's all-stars. That's everybody, right? They were a fluid machine. They looked very much like a Penn State women's rugby team. Just so fluent. I mean, it was really cool to watch. I got the film and, like, things that they do I will be putting into our game. But, I mean, they beat us 41-7. And, of course, that was like, wake up. Like, oh, welcome back to rugby, right? So after we woke up in the
Welcome to
morning.
the real world.
Yeah. After we lost that game, which was, by the way, the first game we had lost in a year. And so when you only lose to state champions, well, that's just fine. We played Pennsylvania next. We beat them and so we, of course, played much better rugby, and we were much more awake. So we beat Pennsylvania, and then on the Sunday we came back and beat the Indiana state champions. So to see that level of rugby being played, to be competitive, and even if we had prepared all week, even if we had showed up at 7 a.m., that Wisconsin team, who came in second in the nation, lost in the last play to Hawaii.
Wow.
Which, by the way, Hawaii, everything in your head, exactly what you're thinking. Huge players, extremely well-conditioned, just absolute monsters. It was cool to watch them play.
They're used to using
Yeah,
pineapples for the ball.
Yeah. Wisconsin Memorial played college-level rugby, and we do not. And so it's just like you play better teams, you learn from better teams, and that's what we've done every single year. So it was certainly very humbling to lose to them, but also it was very inspiring to watch the girls beat other teams at state. So
But now you guys are
during
doing
nationals.
7-on-7 in the fall, right?
Correct, yeah.
So what are we playing now?
We
or-
are, yeah.
Okay.
So the 7 seasons, so everything we've been talking about is 15s, 15 versus 15
Right,
at a time.
right.
And the 7 seasons is 7-on-7. They're faster games. They're only 14-minute longs, 2 7-minute halves. And there's a lot more scoring, a lot more action. And it really is a harder game because it just does not stop. Excuse me. So we only started 7s last year. And again, those seniors, it was our first time playing 7s. We came in second in state, and we lost to a team from Memphis who had been playing 7s for several years. And I actually missed that state championship game because my daughter was born the same day. So on November 18th, I know that my girls went and won a runner-up in state, and I had a daughter born. So that was very cool. So for it being
Is
our
there
first,
anything on November 18th this year?
so yeah, November 7th. Well, not other than rugby. Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that's your daughter's birthday.
Oh yeah,
You
exactly.
can't miss that.
Yeah, that's on a Sunday now, so I'll be free for the
Okay,
Saturday.
good,
Exactly.
good,
Yeah. So what Sevens did for us was teach us how to play in the open field. Taught us
Yeah.
how to keep our distance. And what's cool about Sevens is that it's a much faster paced game. It's just a lot more fun to watch because it's just faster and shorter. Rugby's a marathon. So anyway, so we are practicing now, and I told the 8th graders when I visited with Thornia Cox, we will have a JV Sevens team for them to learn the game, and they're completely lost, but that's okay. That's part of learning the game.
That's okay. Eddie and I are still lost.
Right, yeah, but you're picking it up. I feel like you
getting there.
guys have become a lot more rugby literate. The first set of matches with Riverdale and Ravenwood and Warren County and Spring Hill, who all have Sevens teams this year, which is awesome. The first set of matches is in Columbia on September 27th at Ridley Park. So Ridley Park, pretty awesome. They don't charge a fee to use the park, so that's really cool.
Right.
So we're excited about using their facilities, and they're building a bunch of other fields too. So Sevens, I told the girls this. Sevens is like exhibition-friendly games. Yes, there's a state tournament. Yes, there's a trophy. We have a state runner-up cup, right, in our case at Columbia. I really don't truly care about Sevens. 15s is where it's at. 15s is the big team game. It's our official school sport game. Everything we do is preparation for Sevens, or for 15s, excuse me. So I'm excited to be competitive in that and work on the girls. I mean, it's a year-round sport now, so it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited about sending more girls to colleges. I've already got a couple seniors who are trying to be playing college rugby. At nationals, for example, college coaches from all over come to nationals, and Brown University, Yale University, these Ivy League schools, they came up to me after the game. They're like, "Hi, I'm from Brown." I'm like, "The Brown? Like Brown University, Ivy League Brown?" She was like, "Yeah." And she introduced herself. And she wrote down 4 numbers. She's like, "I want to talk to you about these girls. Which ones are juniors? Because they can't recruit seniors the same athletic year." And so we talked about some of the girls, and 2 of these girls, Sanaya Bond and Nicoya Hayes, were juniors, and they're upcoming seniors, and they're going to be those, big, powerful forwards that are going to be leading, our biggest players. So I know those players are certainly interested in playing college rugby. I know they want to go somewhere together. So as I'm sending out my emails, I'm like, "Hey, listen, how would you like 2 great forwards? And what kind of offers are you? What kind of offers are you looking to make?" And colleges, they just want good players. They understand there's so much competition from the soccers and the volleyballs of the world. They want good kids that are dependable. I have a sneeze and I keep trying to stifle it. They want good kids that are dependable, and they always, it's always the smaller schools that offer the biggest amount of money. But they want to make sure that you are putting your education first, which to me is the first green flag. Like, hey, listen, they know that sports is not a forever job, so they understand how important it is that you go for your education, and then you also get to play some rugby. So. Exciting.
Good deal.
Excuse me, there it was.
That's not a problem. Everybody sneezing. Not a big deal. Well, all right. Sounds good. So we're ready for 2019 rugby.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Be a
I'm
great
excited. Eddie and I are just now getting to where we're understanding nothing about this game. Everything we ever thought we knew about
Sports.
is totally different with rugby.
Yeah.
But we're giving it a shot. We're giving it the old college go.
college try.
Oh yeah, we're doing the best that we can. Hey, you know who my new bestest buddy is? Shaq Mason. You know why? He has a $25.3 million cash outpay for his new contract.
I can understand that. He has a lot of new buddies.
He doesn't know that he's my new
buddies.
buddy, but he is. I'm just saying.
I'd like to be Aaron Rodgers' new buddy. He got $100 million
Oh, I know.
guaranteed
He
cash.
did. He did. But Shaq got a $50 million 5-year contract, 23.5 guaranteed.
I'm proud of him.
I'm extremely
I'm
proud.
proud of him.
He's a great kid. I remember I met him last year at a football practice, and he was coming, talking to the boys, and
Oh yeah.
super down to earth guy, super hardworking, and like the perfect example of a guy who made it.
But
New England signed him.
don't
Yeah.
put
That
shoulder
was one.
pads on him. He changes.
Yes, he
believe
does. He plays
Just like
very
Tre'Davious Goff.
physical.
Yep.
Very
Nicest guy you'd
Nice
ever want to meet on the street, but don't put shoulder pads on him
And a helmet.
and a helmet. Don't do it. Not unless you want some action.
That's it. Yep. It is great to see him get the big
is.
contract, though. He's went through his high school career and career at Georgia Tech and all the things they accomplished there, and now into his fourth season, and he's getting his big payoff. So that's really
what I
good.
really enjoy about it too is, when New England drafted him, there was a lot of these other, pro teams going, but he's so small,
Right.
But he proved to everybody that size ain't everything.
If you can get low,
The one thing that I saw the other day was, is Shaq Mason worth the price that New England is paying? And the question was answered by saying, just ask his teammates.
Right.
right?
Yep.
That's right.
They understand.
And same thing they were saying, if you can get low, you take that guy out. Now, the one thing that we have seen Shaq do, if he gets high, they're going to push him over.
Yep.
But if he gets low, you ain't moving him.
Doesn't he play multiple positions?
No.
No,
Just-
Right tackle.
It's
Just right tackle? I thought he played center. a little
Guard.
bit.
No.
Oh, guard.
Guard.
Okay.
Right guard, I'm sorry.
Guard.
But
Yeah.
the thing about him is how quick he can get to the second level.
Oh, good Lord,
Right.
yes.
And, take
Yeah.
out the linebackers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think now other thing that stands out is he doesn't make bad plays very often.
No.
They're very rare. Unfortunately, he did have one in the Super Bowl, but
Yeah, but
most
still on
people-
that one, you could say, well, Brady could have got the ball out quicker,
yeah,
and
True.
but things happen. You're not going to be
It'll be perfect. all
But-
the
not
time.
going to be 100% on every.
yeah.
Right.
But even if you take into everything team wise, who could other
Mhm.
people playing a factor in it, there's just a handful of bad plays he's made
Right.
since he's been a pro, especially since mid-season 2 years ago.
And that's playing against a lot of veteran players
Oh, yeah,
too.
Absolutely.
To be given
You
that kind
know.
of contract 4 years later, clearly the organization believes that he's a good investment.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
want him going anywhere
Exactly.
because they don't want him playing against them.
Right.
course.
Absolutely.
Which that could have happened.
Yeah.
But at least he does not have the franchise tag. That's a good thing.
Right.
But he does have 23.5 guarantee.
And good for him.
I'm tickled for him. I am,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Alicia's mom and the whole family. So
Yeah.
so congratulations to all of them. University of Tennessee. We're going to eliminate our Alabama man for a second, but we're going to. I'm kidding. You know that, Coach. But University of Tennessee.
Yes.
What can we expect from them on Saturday with UTEP?
Well, we should handle UTEP handily. I mean, but it's there again. It's like playing another high school team, But I'm like we've had this talk before. I'm a diehard UT fan, have been all my life, but I also know that Pruitt is not going to come in here first year and take us to the promised
Change the
land.
world.
I mean, it's going to take a while. People got to be patient. I mean, UT has one of the youngest teams, out there right now with their starters and stuff like that. Give this man a chance. Let him recruit his own people. Let's see what he can do, and give him at least 4 years. But the fifth year, if he ain't producing a winning season, then we'll go from there. But
Do you think Billy Bob from Maryville can take that?
well, Billy Bob from Maryville can do what? But but that's the thing. I mean,
Can do
you got
what,
you
Eddie?
got so many.
What can Billy
I
Bob
hate
from
to say
Maryville
this
do?
About our.
I'm trying to
fan
get an
base.
answer from him.
I hate to say this about our fan base, but we do have so many fans out there
They're
that are
rabid.
in for what's happening right now. You're not going to get that every time. I mean,
Well, what you want to see this week
Is a
some
continuation.
not playing down to their competition.
right,
because
a
that's what
continuation of
happened
what
with-
we did last week.
What happened with Butch Jones
They can play down
and
to the
all the
level,
way they
right?
played to the level of the competition. You want to see improvement, right, Coach?
Oh, yeah.
You want to see,
Yep.
go out there, take them out, play a play your second,
and
third
and,
string.
and play turnover free ball, which we have so far this year in both games. I mean, we've played turnover free. I mean, we did have a turnover, but it got overturned because the guy was down before the ball actually came out. So, so if we can continue doing that, playing turnover free, and offensive line play get better, which West Virginia exposed our offensive line terribly in the opening game.
But they got better.
They did get better as the game went on, but and let's face it. I mean, West Virginia's probably got one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
Is coach's strategy working as far as defense goes? I mean, he's supposed to be this defensive mind,
He ain't got the players.
Right.
to
He
play
he
that
doesn't he doesn't have.
so he hasn't recruited his own players yet. Obviously, because
Obviously hadn't.
yeah, but I mean,
but when you got two freshmen starting in
yeah,
corners,
Mm-hmm.
and
yeah.
things.
Two true
It's gonna
freshmen
it's
on
gonna take a
corners.
little time.
And anybody you
And-
recruit is young.
I
So-
mean, and in the game Saturday, one of our corners evidently thought he was going to have, help from the safety, because he turned and he looked at the safety before the play happened, and he figured, well, I've got play by, and he let the guy by him, and nobody was there to pick him up until the ball come down the field. Of course, saving grace was receiver had to wait on the ball to get to him.
mm-hmm.
And by that time we could recover and make the tackle. But, so
That happens.
it happens. I mean, it's a teaching experience, moment. So.
Alabama, on the other hand, doesn't only reload players; they reload coaches.
That's true. They've been through a lot of coaches. In the last
So
3 or 4
And,
years.
and I see today where he booted the kicker to the sideline.
yeah.
really,
Yeah.
Yeah, he missed two kicks Saturday, and so he replaced him with another kicker. So
But I agree with everything you say. It's
Right.
going to take time at UT. They're
right,
short on experience, short on talent, and short on understanding the system that they're trying to teach.
Right.
At Alabama, the seniors have got 4 years into it. They know the system thoroughly. No, everybody at UT is 2 weeks into the system. I
Right.
think that makes a huge difference
Right.
in what
Well,
how you play. Defensively, they do not have what he needs to run the system that he wants. He
no,
needs
they're still not getting the
experience.
pressure
I
on
know
the
how
quarterback.
how frustrating is that for a first year coach that knows I need this, but I don't have this, and will I ever get this?
Well, I think it's probably always frustrating when you don't play as well as you want to, but he knows that going in. Nothing's. He's. I would almost guarantee he hasn't been surprised by anything that's happened yet, except for maybe the 2-hour delay from weather.
Oh,
I'm sure that was trying
Yeah.
on a new coach.
2 weeks in a
but,
row, we've had weather delays.
Yeah.
and the best part, he's got an AD that'll come down and put his arm around him and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, you're gonna get better."
Well, them ADs are important, I tell you.
You're my guy. Don't screw this up.
Anybody get that? Them
Yes, they
ADs
are.
are important.
They're
There's
so
absolutely no
Yeah.
doubt
Right.
in my mind.
And that's the first time I've heard Vance make a joke.
Oh, no.
Right over their heads.
It may be once every 3 months, but it's a good one, buddy,
Yeah.
when it's there.
It's because
Yeah.
it takes me that long to think them up. But, that's why they're good. Been thinking on them for 3 months.
Oh, you did
Well,
good.
well, Coach, let's ask you another question here. This has to do with another SEC team. What do you think Vandy's chances against Notre Dame are?
I really have not watched them, so I really don't.
I mean,
So, I mean,
Vandy's
theory,
played
they're
two
good.
teams with a whole lot less talent. So
But doesn't every college school at this time play that the warm-up games.
Some of them do, yeah.
Notre Dame started with Michigan. I mean,
Right.
they were just, that was a warm up.
I don't think
Maurice.
Notre Dame would look at Vanderbilt as a warm up game. I think they're looking at them as being a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame take them more seriously than what they took Ball State, of course. But
Hope so.
Reach in there in the kitchen, grab you a chair because you've got a microphone for the next 5 minutes. Yeah.
What about Kentucky beating Florida?
I watched some of that. Now that was an
I tell you
exciting
what.
game, fun to watch,
And to be
I was
honest with you,
glad to
though,
see
Kentucky,
get it off
Kentucky
the
has
back.
played them pretty tough last several years. I mean,
Should have beat
you
them
know,
last year.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
By the way, that is the voice of
They had
Maurice
it won
Patton.
last year and gave it away.
Maurice Patton of the Daily Herald, who's the sports editor. He just came for the pizza.
You ain't got to tell everybody.
Love you, brother.
Right. No, we had to make sure the paper got put out because
I understand. Hey, what is coming? Give us some headlines for tomorrow for us to go buy the paper.
the headline, as this is a heavy Columbia Central room, we got a piece on Dontavius Brown in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So yeah.
Now then, the big question is, which game are you going to be at Friday?
I'm going out to Mount Pleasant
Ah,
for the
we
Sun
know.
Drop
We
Bowl.
took bets on it. Yeah. Hey,
Who won?
Yeah, we got it.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, that should be a pretty good one. Cornersville, the defending Class 1A state runner-up,
Right.
and they're both off to 4-0 starts.
It's
2-0
going to
in that
be an
region.
epic battle.
An epic battle.
Yeah.
An epic battle.
Just
you know.
saying.
Get your popcorn. Get there earlier. Watch it from the softball field. I think is what I think I read somewhere. But yeah, I hope they have a great crowd. They deserve to have a great crowd. I'm sure Cornersville will be here. In fact, I hear that most of Marshall County will be over here.
Well, they'll
So,
shut down Cornersville. They'll just close the doors and
How
turn off
long
the
does
lights.
that take?
It only takes about 15 minutes.
I'm interested to see Cornersville. I saw them in the state finals
Oh,
last year against
yeah.
Greenback, and I don't think they lost a whole lot off that team. But Mount Pleasant's playing really well right now. What I'm concerned about is, and it's not if, Vance, you know how this goes, it's when they see some adversity because they've not seen any so far
Right.
this year.
Right.
How are they going to respond? And I think this bunch has been coached well enough, and I think they're motivated well enough that when they hit it, I think they're going to respond the right way. And if they do, it could be one fun night out there. And if they don't, I think Cornersville got the horses to really make a lot of folks look
it
bad.
could get
So
ugly. Right.
yeah. So hopefully hopefully they'll respond the right way when that comes about. So we'll see.
Good deal. Dan LaFon, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Always fun to have you around.
I want to ask him before we get out of here.
Sure.
You lost some folks the last couple of years. What have you got back now? And I'm sure y'all probably touched on a lot of that.
It was
but-
last year. We lost 10 big starters. So as I was telling the guys earlier, I'm actually more excited this year because you got those young players who've grown up in the shadow of that 2018 class, and they got everything to prove. So it's going to be very exciting to watch.
They won a state championship banner for every year in that hallway down through there in front of his classroom. And I'm here to tell you, from what I've seen from these girls coming up, that can happen.
But they're going to have to work.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to work. Well, it's just not given to you.
Of course not.
From what you've told me, you've got some hosses out there that are ready to go.
They're ready to go.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's obviously an up and coming sport in this area, and I think anything you can do to get more young ladies in particular involved athletically. It's a
Just
good thing.
one quick question about that. Is TSSAA ever going to sanction rugby?
One day they will learn that it's more beneficial, but not in the next 5 years.
But you're not looking forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. There is no. I mean, I like operating outside of it because I get to make my own rules, so it's kind of nice.
There's something to be said
It-
for it, isn't
Yeah,
there?
Yeah, I
there
mean,
is.
it's nice.
There
It's
is.
nice.
All
Yep.
right. Guys, thank y'all. We didn't get to the Tennessee Titans tonight, but that's okay.
Yeah, it is. Good one.
So
Why would we
for
want to?
Dan LaFon and Maurice Patton and Vance Ballou, Chip Matlock, and Eddie Bobo, I'm Dan James. Have yourself a nice evening, everybody.